The unveiling of the mystery of the death of the apostles and Mary Magdalene, martyrdom and persecution. Prepare to delve into one of the most enigmatic and hidden chapters in Christian history. The unveiling of the mystery of the death of the apostles and Mary Magdalene does not merely recount the end of the 12 apostles. It reveals hidden secrets and stories suppressed for centuries, highlighting a figure often relegated to oblivion. Mary Magdalene, the apostle who understood the teachings of Jesus in a singular and profound way. In this journey of faith and martyrdom, the viewer is transported to a time of unparalleled sacrifice and conspiracies that shaped the destiny of the early church. Peter, John, James, Thomas, Matthew, Bartholomew, and other apostles face a tragic and violent end, each sealed by fate in different parts of the world. However, as the mystery surrounding their deaths unfolds, a deeper question arises. Were their deaths merely the end of their mortal lives, or is there a cosmic connection that endures to this day? Mary Magdalene, in turn, emerges as Jesus' closest apostle, bearer of spiritual secrets that could change the course of Christian history. Alongside the other apostles, she treads a path of revelations and sacrifices, facing dangers and questions about the true purpose of her mission. But what happened to her after the crucifixion? Her fate is shrouded in mystery. Was death her true end, or is there something more, a secret that has remained hidden for centuries, suppressed by religious institutions? Amidst this mystery, the narrative intensifies with echoes of the apocalypse and the enigmatic figure of Melchizedek, who appears in visions to guide the apostles on their final missions. Melchizedek, the high priest mentioned in the scriptures, reveals himself as a spiritual guide and intermediary to a cosmic plan far greater than mortals can comprehend. This account is not just a historical retelling. It is a spiritual investigation that challenges the viewer to question what they really know about the Christian story. The deaths of the apostles, including Mary Magdalene, are not just isolated events, but keys to a greater understanding of the cosmos and humanity's role in the great divine mystery. Amidst bloody deaths and silent martyrdoms, between prophetic visions and spiritual encounters, the final journey of the apostles reveals truths that defy time and space. The shadows of the past grow thicker as the hidden pieces of history emerge. The final call, mission and sacrifice of the apostles. At a time when the veil between the mundane and the divine was as thin as a dagger's blade, Jesus' apostles prepared for a journey that would lead them not only to martyrdom, but also to transcendence. The echo of Jesus' words resounded in their souls, a call that sounded like a sacred drum. Go and make disciples of all nations, he had told them. And so each of the apostles, like shooting stars on a moonlit night, set out in separate directions, seeking not only followers but a meaning that transcended life and death. Peter, the rugged fisherman from Capernaum, now became the rock upon which the new faith would be built. He walked through the crowded streets of Rome, where whispers of his mission became cries of revolt against Roman oppression. With every step he took, he felt the presence of Melchizedek, an almost mythical figure who appeared in his visions, whispering truths that defied logic and established norms. Peter knew that his destiny was to be crucified, but instead of fearing death, he found a greater purpose in his imminent surrender. Meanwhile, John the Beloved ventured to Ephesus, where pagan cults were in fierce conflict with the new doctrine he had helped establish. John's dreams were filled with apocalyptic visions that were revealed to him in the silence of the night. Prophecies of a dark future danced in his mind, a legacy that would become the basis of the book of Revelation. It was as if the universe were conspiring against them, but they were faithful, knowing that truth often lies hidden in the shadows. James the Just remained in Jerusalem, where the Jewish authorities prepared the net for his capture. He preached to those who were willing to listen, challenging the narrative that religious power tried to impose. The echo of his voice resounded in the minds of his listeners, and he knew that his death would be a testament to his faith. Thus, the apostles became not just missionaries, but martyrs in a spiritual battle that transcended tangible reality. The journey was not without its dangers. The apostles found themselves constantly surrounded by a rising tide of persecution. The Romans, alerted by the powerful message that the apostles brought, began to see these men not as simple religious leaders, but as direct threats to their empire. The forces of oppression were on the move, and their fate seemed increasingly sealed. And where was Mary Magdalene, the forgotten apostle? Unlike many of her peers, she did not follow a clear path. She sensed that her mission was tied to a deep mystery, a secret that the world was not ready to accept. In her meditations, Melchizedek loomed as a constant presence, guiding her, offering glimpses of a destiny that intertwined with the destinies of her fellow apostles. It was as if she carried the weight of ancient wisdom, a key to understanding the cosmos in all its complexity. Each apostle carried within them the seed of a new understanding, a truth that challenged the status quo. They were not mere messengers, they were spiritual warriors, fighting against the forces that wished to silence the truth. Their journey would be marked by profound sacrifices, but also by an illumination that would echo through the centuries, like a whisper on the wind, challenging those willing to listen. And so, as the story unfolds, Melchizedek's presence continues to echo, a reminder that even in the darkness of persecution and martyrdom, the light of truth will never be completely extinguished. The apostles, in their search for meaning, became part of a cosmic tapestry, where each interwoven thread tells a story of love, sacrifice, and revelation. And so, the journey had only just begun. The last moments of Mary Magdalene. Amidst the vibrant and chaotic backdrop of first-century Jerusalem, Mary Magdalene emerges as a figure of remarkable complexity, navigating the sacred and the profane, the visible and the invisible. With a presence that illuminated the path of the apostles, she was not just a follower of Jesus. She was an apostle in her own right, a guardian of the secrets he entrusted to her. But what really happened in the final moments of her life? It is a question that echoes through the pages of history, an inquiry that refuses to fade into the mists of time. On a bright morning, as the sun rose over the hills, Mary found herself in a space of deep introspection. Memories of her journey with Jesus danced through her mind like fragments of a forgotten dream. The Master's teachings reverberated in her soul, challenging her to confront not only what she had learned, but who she really was. The figure of Melchizedek, with his enigmatic air and transcendent wisdom, began to materialize in her thoughts. What is truth, if not a veil unfolding in layers, she pondered, feeling the urgency to understand the deeper meaning of her own existence. Rumors of Jesus' crucifixion still echoed in the streets, creating an atmosphere charged with fear and expectation. Mary, immersed in her meditation, glimpsed what seemed to be the future. A future that mixed her own hopes with the challenges that lay ahead. The visions of Melchizedek became more and more frequent, as if he were guiding her toward a greater destiny, a central role in the narrative that was about to unfold. But dangers also lurked. The persecution of the apostles intensified, and the echoes of voices calling for justice and truth were often drowned out by the clamor of oppression. The religious authorities saw in Mary a threat to their control, a source of wisdom that challenged the doctrines that had been imposed for centuries. It was as if her destiny was intertwined with the destiny of the apostles, and this connection made her all the more vulnerable. In the midst of this turmoil, Mary felt the weight of martyrdom approaching. It was not only her life that was at stake, but a truth that needed to be revealed. As she walked the streets of Jerusalem, she felt drawn by an inexplicable impulse, an inner calling that guided her to an inevitable encounter with her destiny. The presence of Melchizedek followed her, a constant shadow that reminded her that the real struggle was not only against physical oppression, but also against spiritual ignorance. In meeting with the apostles, Mary brought a message of hope and revelation. What is hidden in the shadows, my brothers, will be exposed to the light. We cannot allow fear to keep us from speaking the truth. Her words echoed in the room, reverberating with a power that transcended mere language. The spiritual connection she shared with Jesus and the other apostles became a source of courage in the face of adversity. But events unfolded quickly. As the apostles were persecuted, Mary decided she could no longer hide in the shadows. The desire to share her teachings and the secrets she held outweighed any fear of death. With an indomitable spirit, she stepped into the arena of truth, where her martyrdom would become a story of endurance and faith. As Mary's final hours drew near, darkness began to gather around her. She saw in her mind's eye the lives of the apostles, their tragic deaths, and felt the weight of their experiences, as if all their stories were woven into a single cosmic tapestry. The question that consumed her was, what happens after death? It was a mystery that defied reason, an enigma that the connection to Melchizedek seemed to indicate, a transition, not an end. And so Mary Magdalene, the forgotten apostle, found her place in history not as a minor figure, but as the key to understanding the deepest secrets of faith. Her journey would be remembered not just as an act of martyrdom, but as a revelation that would change the perception of what it means to truly believe. What unfolded before her was more than a sacrifice. It was the promise that truth will always find its way to the light. The fate of the apostles, hidden truths and myths. When we look at the fate of the apostles, we cannot help but notice that their lives and deaths are shrouded in mystery, almost as if the universe were deliberately challenging us to decipher the hidden code of their stories. Each of them, central figures in the Christian narrative, faced fates that ranged from the heroic to the tragic. But what do we really know about their deaths? Were they mere biographies or reflections of a deeper cosmic truth? Consider Peter, a man who not only walked alongside Jesus, but who also had the audacity to deny his master 3 times. His journey took him to Rome, where, according to tradition, he was crucified upside down, an act of humility that echoes his own spiritual transformation. But what if this story was not exactly as we know it? What if Peter, in his final moments, had a vision of Melchizedek that inspired him to rethink the nature of his own faith? This is the kind of reflection that can make the mind tremble, as if we were opening a door to another dimension of understanding. John, the beloved, had a different fate, often portrayed as the only apostle who died of natural causes. But that does not stop us from imagining that, even in his old age, he continued to receive revelations and visions, perhaps from Melchizedek, or even from the resurrected Jesus. The Apocalypse, a text that emerges from its alleged authorship, could be interpreted not as a simple prophetic account, but as a spiritual document that transcends time and space, connecting souls seeking truth in its purest essence. And what about Thomas, who became famous for his doubt? His journey took him to the far lands of India, where tradition suggests he met with martyrdom. It's fascinating to think that Thomas, known as the Doubtless One, could have been the first to understand that doubt is actually a path to enlightenment. The idea that he spent his final moments revealing hidden truths to new converts makes us question what we know about faith and knowledge. Matthew, the tax collector, also found his way to martyrdom. Throughout his life, he gave up a lucrative career to follow Jesus, and in his final moments, he may have reflected on the illusory nature of wealth. The transformation from a thief to an apostle is a powerful metaphor for the possibility of redemption and self-knowledge. What would have been going through his mind as he faced his final moments, the eternal battle between ego and spirit? Each apostle carried not only his own stories, but also the untold stories of his brothers. Bartholomew, James, and the others, all intertwined in a destiny that goes beyond the physical. The connection between their lives and deaths reveals a tapestry of hidden truths that, when unraveled, can change our understanding of what it means to be human. They were not just martyrs, but representatives of a universal message that defies time, the search for truth. As authorities sought to silence these voices, the resilience of the apostles became an almost mythical force. The idea that their deaths were not an end but a beginning, an ascension into a new form of existence, an invitation to eternity, resonates in our hearts to this day. They became symbols of resilience, and their stories a reflection on the nature of sacrifice and the search for truth. So, as we look at the fate of the apostles, we must not be content with simple narratives. We must embrace the mystery surrounding their lives and deaths, allowing these echoes of the past to resonate in our own spiritual journey. What each apostle represents is more than their individual stories. It is a connection with something greater, a cosmic dance that invites us to explore the hidden truths that still remain in the shadows. Mary Magdalene, the forgotten apostle and her secrets. The story of Mary Magdalene is one of the most enigmatic and frequently misunderstood in the Christian tradition. Often seen as a minor figure, her presence in the biblical narrative is actually an invitation to delve deeper into the mysteries surrounding spirituality. What do we really know about her? And why has her image been so often relegated to oblivion? As we explore the life of Mary Magdalene, we enter a territory where truths are shaped by interpretations and shadows hide hidden meanings. Mary Magdalene, the The woman who became the apostle to the apostles not only witnessed the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus, but also carried with her knowledge that could challenge the foundations of established doctrine. Let us imagine for a moment that Mary was not just a follower, but an initiate into profound spiritual secrets, possessing an understanding of the cosmos that few men of her time could equal. The idea that Jesus chose her to reveal himself in his purest form, the first to see the resurrected Christ, is a powerful symbol of feminine wisdom that has been silenced for centuries. When we think of Mary, it is impossible to ignore the possibility that her experiences connected her to esoteric traditions that transcend the conventional Christian narrative. What might be hidden between the lines of her story? The ancient doctrines of reincarnation, spiritual alchemy, and sacred mysteries may have been part of her knowledge. When she encountered the resurrected Christ, she may have received not just a message of hope, but a cosmic revelation that prepared her for a crucial role in the formation of what we now call Christianity. And what about her death? Different traditions tell different stories of Mary Magdalene's fate. Some believe that she went to France, taking with her the teachings of Jesus and becoming a central figure in a new spiritual era. But what if her true death was not an end, but a transformation? The possibility that Mary Magdalene ascended to a higher state of consciousness leads us to question the very nature of death. Is death at its core simply a change of form? While religious institutions have sought to marginalize her, Mary's role as the apostle to the apostles suggests that her influence was far greater than previously thought. What if the writings that mention her contain clues to a deeper understanding of spirituality? Her martyrdom was not just physical, it was a martyrdom of ideas, a conflict between the old order and the new consciousness. By exploring her final journeys, we can see that Mary Magdalene was, in fact, a revolutionary figure, challenging the norms of society of her time. In this context, the narrative of Mary Magdalene becomes a microcosm of the struggle between truth and falsehood, light and shadow. Her experiences can be seen as a preparation for the revelation of mysteries that go far beyond what traditional accounts allow us to access. How she navigated these turbulent waters, facing opposition and revealing hidden secrets, is a lesson for us all. Mary's journey is a reflection on the search for truth in a world that often prefers illusion. Therefore, as we explore the figure of Mary Magdalene, we are invited to open our minds and hearts to the possibility that she is more than a forgotten apostle. She is a symbol of resilience, a beacon of wisdom, and a teacher who, even in silence, continues to guide us on our spiritual quest. The truths she carries are ones that can transform not only our lives, but also our understanding of the very nature of spirituality. Mary Magdalene's journey is one of ongoing revelation, an invitation to question what we know and to explore what remains hidden. Echoes of sacrifice, the last moments of the apostles. In the vast theater of existence, where each life is a play and each play a story, the final act of the apostles unfolds like a cosmic drama, filled with hidden symbolism and profound meaning. The lives of these men and women who followed Jesus are like threads woven into a spiritual tapestry, and their deaths are more than mere historical events. They become rituals of sacrifice, reverberating through time and space. Peter, the fisherman turned leader, faces his crucifixion upside down, an act of humility and surrender. As he contemplates his own mortality, he becomes a symbol of unconditional love and unwavering faith. The story goes that as he prepares for martyrdom, Peter exclaims, "I am not worthy to die like my master." This surrender is more than a refusal. It is a revelation of the profound truth that permeates the universe. True life does not end with death, but transforms into something greater. John, the beloved disciple, also meets his fate in the turbulent waters of Ephesus, where tradition holds that he is persecuted but never broken. His death instead becomes an affirmation of life, an echo of hope that refuses to be silenced. He reminds us that love, when truly lived, transcends even the grip of death. His work, the Book of Revelation, resounds like a warning song, a prophecy that still echoes in our time. And then there is James, who is said to face martyrdom with a serenity that mirrors the very nature of Christ. His sacrifice, brutal and painful, becomes a testament to the truth he defended. Every blow that struck him was like an echo in the cosmos, resonating with the lessons his master taught. James's death is not an end but a transition. where he becomes a guardian spirit, a light for those still struggling in the darkness. Yet while these apostles meet their fates in different places and under different circumstances, the mystery of Mary Magdalene, the forgotten apostle, persists. What happened to her after the crucifixion? Sources are scattered and traditions diverge. For some, she is a central figure, continuing to spread the teachings of Jesus in distant lands. For others, her existence becomes an enigma, shrouded in a haze of silence and guesswork. What if she had not died? What if her journey had only just begun? The lives and deaths of the apostles, intertwined like a cosmic dance, invite us to reflect on our own existences. What do these sacrifices mean in a world that often ignores the sacred? Their deaths echo through the centuries, a call to action, an invitation to introspection. Each of them, in their pain and surrender, lights the way for us, raising the eternal question, what are you willing to sacrifice for the sake of your truth? Thus, as the story of the apostles unfolds, their lives and deaths become a timeless narrative, where each chapter is an opportunity for renewal and transformation. The mystery of their existence challenges us to look beyond the visible, to explore the depths of what it means to be human. And at the heart of it all remains the enigmatic figure of Mary Magdalene, a persistent echo that reminds us that the true story is the one that lies in the shadows, waiting to be revealed. The last secrets, the conspiracy to suppress the truth. Early Christianity was not the cohesive, organized narrative we know today. There was dissent, heated debate, and most importantly, constant attempts to suppress truths that could have forever changed the course of the faith. In this chapter, we explore the dark forces that shaped the early centuries of the Church, and how figures like Mary Magdalene and Melchizedek were deliberately erased from official history. Mary Magdalene, known as the Apostle to the Apostles, understood the deepest teachings of Jesus. However, her role was increasingly suppressed by church leaders who saw her as a threat to the male dominance of the Christian narrative. She knew too much. She understood what others could not. The true nature of the union between the divine and the earthly. Her esoteric figure, loaded with symbolism and secrets, was gradually erased in favor of a patriarchal vision of Christianity, which had no place for a woman as a bearer of divine secrets. The attempt to eliminate Mary Magdalene from history was only part of a broader effort. The figure of Melchizedek, the mysterious priest-king mentioned in the scriptures, was relegated to silence. His followers, who saw in him an intermediary between heaven and earth, formed secret orders, venerating what the official leaders of the church feared, a direct connection with the divine without the need for earthly intermediaries. And this, of course, was dangerous for the nascent power structure. But how did the church manage to shape this narrative? By rewriting the Gospels themselves. Apocryphal texts that mentioned both Mary Magdalene and Melchizedek were systematically destroyed or discredited. These scriptures, which spoke of a more inclusive, esoteric and mystical Christianity, were a direct threat to the rigid control that the Roman Empire and the church leaders sought to establish over the new religion. Heresies began to flourish, especially those that elevated Mary Magdalene to the status of a divine figure, a forgotten goddess, suppressed by the official church. These schools of thought, often linked to Gnosticism, also venerated Melchizedek and his mystical order. These early Gnostic Christians were violently persecuted, their texts burned, their followers martyred, and their doctrine relegated to the shadows of history. The conspiracy intensified with the alliance between the Roman Empire and the Church. The need to unify the Christian narrative was crucial to maintaining spiritual and political control over the masses. Any mention of Mary Magdalene, Melchizedek, or ideas that might challenge this unification was swept under the rug of history. Still, the apostles fought back. Many of them, aware of the spiritual corruption that was taking hold in the early Christian communities, tried to warn their followers. But their voices were silenced, their martyrdoms erased or rewritten to omit any connection to these forbidden secrets. The question remains, what else was erased from the sacred record? What still remains hidden in the shadows of Christian history? The last apostles, Matthias, Philip, and James the Less. As we draw closer to the conclusion of this heavenly saga, the fates of the last apostles unfold like a tapestry of sacrifice, faith, and veiled mysteries. Each, in their final mission, seems to be guided by unseen forces that defy earthly comprehension. Matthias, Philip, and James the Less are not just marginal figures in the history of the Church. They are pillars of a narrative that connects the cosmos, divinity, and human destiny in ways few have dared to comprehend. Matthias, the one chosen to replace Judas, bears the burden of a legacy tarnished by betrayal. His selection was not just a formality to complete the number of the 12, it was a symbolic act, an attempt to restore the balance between light and darkness. Sent to preach among barbarian peoples, he becomes a beacon of the word of Christ in lands dominated by brutality and paganism. But his journey ends in tragedy. Stoned and beheaded, his martyrdom is a grim reminder that following the path of truth always comes at a price. However, what few realize is that in the final moments of his life, Matthias had visions of Melchizedek, the enigmatic priest king, guiding his steps toward the ultimate sacrifice. Does this mean? Was Matthias's destiny written in the stars from the beginning? Philip, meanwhile, finds his destiny in Syria. He preaches tirelessly, taking the word to forgotten places, but his actions lead him to his own sacrifice. Crucified upside down, a symbolic reversal of Christ's fate, Philip does not cry out for mercy. Instead, he embraces his suffering with an almost mystical serenity. His death is not just the end of his mortal life, but a transition to something greater, something beyond human comprehension. And in his final moments, he also feels the presence of Melchizedek, a silent guide, a force that weaves the apostles' destinies without their knowing exactly why. James the Less, thrown from the temple in Jerusalem and beaten to death, reflects the violent martyrdom of an apostle who lived to serve. His unwavering faith resonates in the words of his followers, who saw him as a symbol of resistance in an increasingly corrupt world. His tragic end is a metaphor for the constant struggle between good and evil, a struggle that seemed predestined from the beginning of time. James, like the others, sees Melchizedek in his final visions, a figure he cannot fully understand but knows to be important in a larger scheme. And then there is Mary Magdalene, who observes these sacrifices with deep spiritual pain. She remembers the times when these men walked alongside Christ, their spiritual contributions, and their legacies of faith. She knows that their deaths were not in vain, but are part of a greater mystery that has yet to unfold. This chapter sets the stage for the final big reveal. The greater purpose of all these events begins to unfold as the unseen pieces of the cosmic puzzle begin to fall into place. What lies ahead? The final revelation, the return of the apostles and Mary Magdalene. And so we come to the culmination of the journey, the moment when shadows and lights merge, when the hidden truth is finally revealed. Deep within Melchizedek's visions, the fate of the apostles, Mary Magdalene, and all of humanity is intertwined with the cosmic threads of time and space. What seemed like the tragic end of the apostles and Mary Magdalene was in fact only the beginning of a new spiritual era. Melchizedek, that mysterious priest king who looms over the scriptures like a cosmic ghost, appears in one final vision, revealing a secret that has been suppressed for ages, the promise of the resurrection of the apostles at the end of time. They are not just martyrs of an ancient faith, but spiritual warriors destined to return when the apocalypse descends upon humanity. Each death, each sacrifice, was connected to the great prophetic outcome. They were chosen not only to die for their beliefs, but to live again as divine sparks in the final confrontation between light and darkness. Throughout the narrative, Mary Magdalene stood as the guardian of spiritual secrets that defied earthly logic. She understood, in a way that no one else did, the true meaning of Christ's teachings. And now, in the final denouement, her role becomes even clearer. Mary Magdalene was not merely a witness to the martyrdom of the apostles, she was the custodian of a truth that would shape the spiritual future of humanity. She was chosen to protect these secrets until the end of time, when the suppressed revelations would finally be revealed to humanity. These apostles, who were once mere men walking among mortals, would return as spiritual warriors in the final confrontation. Each of them, Peter, John, James, and even Matthias, Judas' replacement, would be resurrected for a purpose far greater than simply continuing to preach. They would be the bearers of light, the ones who would face the forces of darkness at the Last Judgment. Melchizedek would be their guide, just as he had been at the moment of their deaths, and now he would guide them as spiritual leaders in the cosmic battle. Prophecies have always spoken of Melchizedek's return at the end of time, and now we understand why. He is the link between the divine and the mortal, the intermediary who transcends time and space, the one who reveals the hidden truths of the cosmos. With him, Mary Magdalene resurfaces as a spiritual force of unparalleled power. Her destiny, far beyond what history has tried to suppress, is the ultimate revelation. It was not death that sealed her, but the promise of her spiritual resurrection, the final secret of her true destiny. The deaths of the apostles and Mary Magdalene were not the end, but the prelude to a new era. The connections between these deaths and the outcome of the apocalypse are now revealed, the keys to humanity's spiritual awakening. In the end, we understand that the apocalypse is not an event of destruction, but of rebirth. Death, for both the apostles and Mary Magdalene, was the gateway to a new cycle, where the shadows of doubt will finally be dispelled and the light of truth will shine for all humanity. The end is in fact the beginning. And so, dear explorers of the unknown, we have reached the end of yet another spiritual and cosmic journey. But as you already know, the end is only the beginning. Now it is your turn to delve into the depths of what has been revealed. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to know what this journey has stirred in your minds and souls. And of course, subscribe to the Gaia's Ascension channel. Press the bell, because the next dive into the mystery may be just a click away. Don't forget to share this video with other truth seekers. After all, the more restless minds join us, the greater the power of the collective awakening will be. And now, I leave you with two new journeys that are about to unfold on the screen. One of them was chosen by the platform itself, while the other comes straight from the heart of Gaia's Ascension. Both promise more secrets, more questions, and perhaps some answers that defy common logic. Remember, don't take anything as absolute truth. Reflect, question, investigate. The truth is always beyond what we are told. So until the next revelation, and may the cosmos guide you in your own discoveries.